Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Balance Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Karen Truesdale Bierman, and I'm so excited to have Dr. Melissa Oden here with us as our guest. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful today. I just appreciate you having me on your show.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Well, I specifically wanted to interview you to talk about women in stress because I feel like you are the women in stress guru.
Oh, goodness.
And I think every woman listening to this podcast wants to hear a little bit about you. So I guess just tell us a little bit about yourself and your progression and women in stress and your role.
Okay, sure. So, well, as you said, my name is Dr. Melissa Oden. I have, I'll just start with my educational background because that's usually what people want to know first. So my bachelor's degree is actually in social science, and it's from Texas Wesleyan University here in Fort Worth, Texas. And I actually call it a classic degree because they don't have it anymore. They actually are calling it sociology now. So I have a classic degree in social science. I also have a master's in social work. I have a master's in public health, and my doctorate is in health education. So I spent 15 years in higher ed as a student, and then I spent almost 10 years in higher ed as a professor, which I absolutely loved. And so I'm actually teaching one class now for the University of Texas at Arlington for their Master of Public Health program. I'm directing their students through the field process, which is actually my wheelhouse in higher ed. And so that's been a lot of fun to get back into the classroom, if you will, which is actually just Zoom.
And I was just going to ask, so your wheelhouse, what the field process, does that mean their placements?
Yeah, their placement in the field. So once they get to the point in their MPH degree where Master of Public Health degree, where they get ready to do the practice experience part of it. So I kind of guide them through that. I coach them through that. So, which is what I wrote my dissertation on. So it really is one thing that I'm super passionate about.
What was the title of your dissertation?
Oh my goodness. It's one of those really long titles. It's like the connection between praxis and something, or anyway, we talked about
internship. Okay, it had the word connection in it. Yeah.
We talked about internships, and I actually had interns from 3 different disciplines in my workplace while I was doing this internship, writing this dissertation. And so I really basically wanted to know what made you choose this profession? And based on this one internship, do you feel like you're going to stay in that profession, or do you feel like you need to back out of it? And I only had one student over that year say that she did not want to be a social worker. And I actually considered that a success because, you know, if it leads somebody to where their true vocation is, then that's a success. It is absolutely not a failure. So all the other ones have stuck with it. I've pretty much kept up with most of them. And so most all of them have stayed in the social work profession, but one of them said, nope, not for me. So, you know, that just goes to show you that not everything is a failure, right? Not everything that turns out the way you thought it shouldn't have is a failure.
Failures aren't failures. It might
exactly
be the scientific.
And it was a plus for her, and it was a plus for me. So yeah, it was great. So
when I love, I mean, I'm classically trained as a clinical psychologist, and I mean, when I worked on the heart transplant unit where I did my dissertation, there was a social worker, and she was amazing. But it wasn't until I would say the past 5 years that I realized how cool the field of social work is, like, and all the resources and their perspective, I guess more for community health, leading toward public health. But I'm really enjoying learning about the perspective.
Yeah, and I actually have a background in medical social work. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up. I had no earthly idea that God had other plans for me to not stop there. But I will tell you that now I consider myself a public health social worker. There is actually a subfield of social work called public health. It's public health social workers. So that's kind of the area that I live in now, and I have lived there for quite a while, since 2006, I guess. So, you know, I have a long and varied career. I did dialysis for a very short period of time, discovered that wasn't for me. So again, that was a win. And then I did some long-term care, which again was not for me. So all of these things just kind of really led me to where I'm at right now. And so I hope your listeners are hearing this pattern, right? That, you know, you're paying attention to what's happening to you, that it's not a failure, that life is rigged in your favor. And if you're just listening and paying attention, it's going to get you to where you want to go if you just follow the lead.
Right. You know? And it's kind of successive approximations. Like, you may not get exactly what you want, like, at least when you're defining your career, doing internships and fellowships, but you're getting in the right direction, or discovering the population that you want to work with, or don't want to work with, if it's kids and not older adults.
Yeah, exactly. And so now I'm completely on the community side of public health and social work,
Okay.
and I'm doing two different things on that side of my business. There's two parts to my business, but one is this public health consulting piece. And so I'm working with the American Planning Association Texas chapter. We're working on active transportation initiatives across the state of Texas. And so I've been traveling across the state for the last 8 years with them doing these active transportation initiatives, which I have found to be so much fun. Not on my radar, right? That was never on my
not in the
radar.
plan, not something you would have
Right, not ever
expected.
The other thing that I'm doing on that side of the business is I'm consulting with Smith County, which is in Tyler, Texas, and we're working on disaster management and planning. And again, nothing that was ever on my radar, right? This has just been very serendipitous for me to be able to be in this field and to have an MPH, to be as flexible as I am, to apply those skills to any topic. And so I've been traveling across the state with them for the last 5 years, doing setting up long-term recovery groups in rural communities in Texas. And so that's one half of the business, but it's been fun and it's been very interesting. The other half of the business, however, is the digital piece. And so that's really kind of what I'm focusing on right now, to really kind of create some more freedom for myself. If you know,
tell us about you mean your coaching practice?
Yeah. So,
that's tell us more about that.
Yeah. So that's part of it. So, I'm a certified life coach with a company called ULA. And actually it's not even really just a company, it's a whole brand. And ULA is derived from the French phrase "ooh la la," which means a state of awesomeness. But it really is not only a word, it is a brand, a concept, and a company. So we are a personal development company that provides programs and products that help you live a life of balance, growth, and purpose. And so as a life coach, I help women find the peace and balance that they want through that ULA lifestyle framework that we can talk about. But that's a part of it. And then the main thing that I'm working on right now that we can talk about in just a little bit is my digital signature course called Women in Stress, Reclaiming Your Life. So all of those things are working together.
So let's jump on that. Let's talk about balance. I mean, you mentioned it in the ooh la la brand, balance. That stuck out, and that's one of my favorite topics.
Yeah. So so ULA was created really a very long time ago by who we call the ULA guys, Dr. Dave Braun and Dr. Troy Amdahl, and they are chiropractors who were in practice for a very long time. Dr. Troy is the ULA guru, Dr. Dave is the ULA seeker. And so long story short, they created this concept called ULA, and it really is about living a life of balance in 7 areas. And those 7 areas are fitness, finance, family, field, which is your vocation, faith, friends, and fun. So they've created, they've created this whole concept around the 7 F's of ULA. So not only do we focus on the 7 F's, but we focus on the accelerators for those 7 F's, and we talk about the blockers for those 7 F's. So your accelerators are going to be gratitude, love, discipline, integrity, passion, humility, and wisdom. And then your blockers are going to be fear, guilt, anger, self-sabotage, laziness, envy, and focus. And that is either a lack of focus or misdirected focus. And so basically what we do as coaches and as ULA ambassadors, we help people basically work through the 7 areas of their life. There's an assessment that you can take that will kind of identify on the what we call the ULA wheel where you are. And, a wheel is supposed to roll. And most people find that there is a flat spot somewhere, at least in one area on that wheel. And so we basically help them figure out what their valve is, what their hub is, and how they can pump that area up to make that wheel roll a lot more evenly. So, we have workshops, we have tools, we have a digital component that people can sign up and be a member for. But it really is just all about helping people find the balance that they desperately desire. And I will guarantee you that you will agree with me on this, that COVID really highlighted the imbalances in our lives.
Yes, it really, and I think we couldn't hide in busyness.
Exactly. A lot of people came home and sat down in 2020 and went, oh my goodness, this is not the life I thought I had. This is not the life I want. I need to make some changes. So, there are the tools out there to do that. And ULA is one of them. I just happen to believe it because I believe in it, because I've been, doing it since 2012 or 2013. It's been a long time. And all of these things have evolved since the first book came out. They now have 3 books out. The original ULA book ULA for women, which I've done a book club on. I actually did a
Okay.
mini course on last year, and then ULA for Christians. So it's basically all the same information. It's just within those 3 different paradigms.
Right.
So
And I love this wheel analogy, because when I think about balance, I think about on the beam, off the beam, which probably comes from the 12 steps. But I love this wheel. And if one of your areas isn't blown up, like
right.
it's flat, then your
Right.
wheel's not going to go. So kind of, and I like also the part that you are identifying the blocks. I mean, because we can have all these aspirational goals, but okay, what's getting in the way of balance? What's getting in the way
Yes.
of fun? What's getting in the way of my family? What's getting in the way of my
And it
passion.
reminds me so much of motivational interviewing, right? I mean,
yes,
just
that's
from a
the
clinical
way.
perspective, it just reminds me a whole lot of motivational interviewing, because it's like, okay, what really do you think is holding you back from getting,
Just
you know, from
put the question
setting,
back on the
from
person.
setting your goal.
Yeah.
So the other thing that these 7 areas do is that we help people set goals in those areas. And this is where people get hung up. They really don't know how to goal set very well, because they don't know how to write them, and they don't know really what they want, right? So during the process, we have them identify 3 goals in each of the 7 areas. So that's 21 goals. Then we help them whittle that down to 7. And then we help them find what we call their ULA 1. And that ULA 1 is the one that says, if this is the only thing that I can work on right now that would, if I could meet this one goal, would totally change my life, what is that? And for most people, it's in one of 2 areas, or both. It's in fitness and finance.
Oh, I was going to say health, because if you don't have your health, you can't make money.
The guys,
I mean, unless you have it set up. Yeah.
Yes. The guys drive around the country in a 1970 VW bus. This is why
that's why you have that.
And they drive around, and they collect dreams. We have these little dream stickers, and people can write their dreams on each one of these stickers that reflect this field, whatever the 7 area is, and they stick them on the bus. We currently have 27 layers of dreams on that bus that the guys have collected over the last 12 years.
Wow.
And so that's part of what we do in the workshop is allow folks to be able to write their dreams on their stickers. And then for this fall, I've got a couple workshops already scheduled. I'm going to collect those from my folks that are in my workshops, and I'm going to take them to Nashville with me in December to our big event called Ulapalooza, and I'm going to stick them on the bus for them. So their dreams are going to be able to go on that bus, which is pretty cool. I mean, just the act of doing that, as you know,
it's symbolic. So what's
yeah.
in store for you the fall of 2022? I know, like when we were offline, you mentioned you're launching something special.
I am super excited. I thought I just lost you there for a minute, but I think you're back. All right. So I would like to share with you guys that I am actually about to roll out my signature course, Women in Stress, Reclaiming Your Life. And if you want to get on the wait list, I don't have a set in stone date for that just yet. There are a couple of techie things that I'm working on just to make sure that things are going to go well. But if you want to get on the wait list is already up on my website, and it is actually drmelissaoden.com. /women and stress -waiting list. And what I'm going to do is send that to you, Karen, so that you can send that out however
in the notes at the bottom of the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So that you can do that. You can also just go to drmelissaoden.com and put your information in there, and I will know that you will want to be on that waiting list. But if you want to be specifically on that waiting list, you can do that. The informational webinar for that course is actually going to happen on October the 4th, which is a Tuesday at 7:30 Central Standard Time. Once you go to my website and enter your information, you will get an email with the link and all of that good stuff in it. But right now it's scheduled for Tuesday, October 4th at 7:30. That webinar is going to tell you everything you need to know about signing up for that course, what's going to be included in it, how long it'll be, the price, all of that good stuff. So also, when you go to my website, you can download my free journal. It's a reflection journal that is branded for women in stress very specifically. So kind of will give you some ways to get started and just kind of mitigating your stress before we even get to the course. The other thing that I will tell you, that once you get into my email group, you will be alerted when the next ULA for Women coaching group is going to happen. So that probably won't happen until, I'm thinking, January, but don't hold me to that because things are changing daily over here.
I understand.
Things are changing daily. I also just finished up a mini email course called Lost in the Woods with with all my subscribers. And in fact,
I've been part of that. I've enjoyed.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, have you? Okay, great.
Yeah,
so it just ended today. But I will tell you that I've had some really, really strong positive feedback about this course. And so what I've decided to do is throw it up on my website in my online classroom called The Hive. And that will be for purchase at some point. I'm having Callie work on that right now. So, or she will be working on it. Maybe if
How
she's
did you come
listening
up
to
with the
this, she
hive?
doesn't.
Like
Huh?
from Be Happy? How'd you come up with the hive?
So my name is Melissa, and
Yes.
it's Greek and it means honeybee. So as you can see, I've got a whole bunch.
Oh,
I've got a whole bunch
Yeah.
of things in my office that
Yeah.
have, and all over my house that have bees on them. So it's just a nod to my name, but
I like that.
but it's called, and because the hive is where the work gets done, right? The
Yes.
hive is where the honey is made. So
Yeah.
so when we get into the hive, we're getting the work done. So anyway, that's going to go up in my online classroom here very shortly. So that will be available to anyone who did not get to sign up for it this last time. And then finally, I have a fall cleanse challenge coming up in October. And I believe that has already been scheduled for October the 18th through the 24th.
Okay.
It'll be a 7-day challenge. I believe that's going to be $10. So not going to break the bank for anybody. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun too. You know, in natural health, I'm also a natural health practitioner, and in natural health, we cleanse in the fall and the spring. And so October is a really, really good time to not only cleanse physically, but to cleanse in other ways. And I'm going to take you through 7 days of different kinds of cleanses that you can do that will really help kind of, I don't know, just get rid of the toxins in your life.
Right. Or just reset, like even a cleansing technology or busyness or.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I will tell you physical cleanse is part of it. And I promise you, it's not a big deal. I'm making all these things very easy, very inexpensive. If you know, if it costs anything at all, which I'm trying to make it not cost anything for it. I just want people to get in the groove so that they can start seeing some results very, very quickly. The other thing I noticed during COVID, from me and actually a lot of my friends, I do not live in clutter. That is one of the things I just don't do, but I know a lot of people have. But when everybody came home in 2020, they were like, oh my, what is going on around my house? And you know as well as
shine the light.
Yes. And you know as well as I do that when people start literally cleaning their space, that something happens to them psychologically. It is like just throwing things away makes such a difference in your mind. So, you know, there's a lot of reasons why you would want to cleanse, and there are going to be 7 different areas that I'm going to walk you through. Again, that's going to be $10. It'll be starting the week of October 17th.
Oh, awesome. I can't wait. And I mean, I spent the past couple of weeks, I've been going through files and closets and taking things to Goodwill. And then I got a new washer dryer, and I paid someone to clean out all the vents and that like physically in my fireplace. And it just changes the space. It just changes everything. Like maybe that's why I feel so good today.
It's like a burden is just a burden that you didn't even know you were carrying is just lifted off your shoulders. And all of a sudden that stress just comes off of you. And it is just the most amazing feeling in the world. So
glad you brought that up. Yeah.
So there are a lot of things going on.
Yeah. What tips do you have for our audience with balance? Now, I know you're super busy. You're doing all these amazing things. And I know you also care for your parents. So how do you balance it? I mean, that's being pulled in quite a few different directions.
Yeah. So for your listeners who don't know, and they probably don't know, my dad had a heart attack 3 months ago. And it was a silent heart attack. We had no idea what was going on until he passed out one morning in his house working out. He was working out. And the man is very fit. And so it was a shock to all of us that this was going on. And so other than that, my parents have been very healthy. I just moved up here last year. I live 3 minutes from them so that I can be close to them. I had no idea when I moved up here last year that they were going to need me so quickly. But I will tell you that that changed everything. You know, I have my life before his heart attack and now my life after. That one defining moment has just seemed to really just change all of our worlds. And so I have to really be, and by the way, he's doing great. He had quintuple bypass surgery a week after that all happened. He's been released from cardiac rehab, and the surgeon, we're waiting on him to be released from the cardiologist. He's doing great. And we're celebrating his 77th birthday this Sunday. So, you know, we are so grateful that God has allowed him to stay with us a little bit longer. But I will tell you that it really changed everything for me in my mind about who I am, where I'm going, what I'm doing. Right. When all of that happened, what's important, because the 2 people that, you know, have taken care of me my whole life, now I'm having to start to take care of them even though they're doing fine, you know, they're
Mhm.
aging. Let's just be real. I mean,
We're all
everybody,
aging, but for them, they're further
right,
along in the aging
right.
process. Yeah.
So the Tuesday night after he was admitted to the hospital initially, I was on the phone with a friend and just, as you can imagine, just distraught. And I told this person, I said, you know what? I feel like I became an adult today. And I wasn't trying to be funny about that. I was
No.
totally serious about the fact that, you know, my life, these are the two people that have taken care of me my whole life, right? And just all of a sudden, now they need me and I have become an adult. And y'all, let me tell you, that hit me like a ton of bricks. And if you haven't had that moment yet, hold on, because you will. And I'm just telling you, get ready for it, because it is an eye-opening experience. It's like no one tells you really how to be an adult until you have to do something like this, right?
Right.
So through all of these changes, I've had to figure out how to become all things to all people and try to have it all, right? You know, and I can't. That's what I've discovered, is that you can't. It just causes unprecedented levels of stress. And unfortunately for women, it can be more fatal because of the way we're built and the way that we function. Stress is much more fatal for us than it is for men. That's not to say it's not fatal for that it's not affecting
Right.
men. It's just not as fatal, meaning they don't die nearly as often from it as we do. Now that's sobering. That's a
Yeah.
really, really sobering thought. So in terms of balance, as I was thinking about this for your listeners, you know, I was there are three things. The first thing is that you cannot be all things to all people. That is what I have learned
Acceptance
in this process. So you really must identify your priorities and stop trying to do all the things. And I'm talking to me too, because in this season of rolling out a course that I've never rolled out before, I am in a busy season of my life. And it's a season, right? I have dedicated this season to that. And I don't expect that this is going to go on forever. So I am setting my priorities and my boundaries. And I'm just doing those things that are going to get me to where I want to go for now. I think you need to get crystal clear on your purpose in life and set your goals around that. When you get clear on your purpose, it's really not as difficult to identify those boundaries. And when I mean clear as in crystal clear, right? There's no doubt as to why you are here. And the ULA framework, which I will introduce to you in my course, really is very helpful in doing that. And also, just as a side note, ULA Palooza is open to anyone who wants to come to Nashville. So again, if you are interested in that, just go to my website, drmelissaoden.com, put in your name, send me a note and says, hey, I'm interested in ULA Palooza, and I'll get you the information.
Very good.
The second thing, and Nashville is kind of fun. So it's fun in December too. So y'all come join us. The second thing I would say is that you must engage in regular self-care. And I know this is like blah, 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 but let me tell you what I mean.
Yeah, I was like, clarify that for me.
This is non-negotiable. And there is a reason why the I don't want to say stewardess, but I'm saying stewardess. The flight attendant.
Okay.
The flight attendant says that you need to put your mask on before you try to help someone else, right? Because you cannot serve from an empty cup. You cannot help other people if you're passed out because you haven't put your oxygen mask on, right? So this really is talking about more than bubble baths and dark chocolate and wine, right? This is really a cognitive behavioral shift for people that I think a lot of people don't understand that they need to make. And again, in my course, we talk a lot about this. And so the self-care iceberg is kind of what we're going to be working with. And it's not just that stuff on the surface, but when we really dig deep down in there, there's some clinical things in there from our perspective that you really have to think about as well in terms of that self-care. So we'll talk a lot about that. And finally, and I think maybe the most important, is that you need to make a decision. You need to make a decision that you're going to do whatever it takes to change that area in your life that's bothering you. It's not going to happen by magic. I think a lot of people just think just let me just roll along and it'll happen. But in ULA, we call this creating a healthy level of disgust for what is bothering you, for whatever that you're dealing with. And so, and also it really deals with the whole issue of the blocker of self-sabotage, but also the accelerator of integrity. Really making a decision has to do with, okay, so I said I was going to start getting up at 7 o'clock every morning, but I'm still getting up at 8. Are you really in integrity with yourself? That is an integrity issue because you said that was important to you. and yet you're not doing it. So what's the deal there? So that's an integrity issue. So if you really, really want to try and balance everything, you've got to stay in personal integrity, and you really have to make a decision and make the hard choices that need to be made sometimes
Mhm.
to be able to do that. And whether that's, deleting, unfriending, and blocking someone, which we also talk about, or whether it is just drinking more water, whatever the case may be, wherever you are on that spectrum, right? As she takes another drink of water.
I've been working on that this week.
Wherever you are on that spectrum, the most important thing is that you need to make a decision, and then you need to stand in integrity on that, and don't let anybody sway you, right? What people think of you and your dream is none of your business. It is hands down none of your business. That is all about them. That is not about you. So you have to figure out how to stand in integrity. So that's what I would say in terms of balancing. So just understand you can't be all things to all people. Engage in regular self-care. That's more than those wonderful bubble baths and dark chocolate wine. There's more to it than that. And then finally, you just need to make a decision to do so. And I know I make that sound easy. I know it's not. But again, those are some of the things that we're going to go through in the course that hopefully will help people be able to make that shift.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time and all the information and the tips.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Have a good
All right.
afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.